So my role really is a conduit between business owners and the city. I've been in the world of entrepreneurship for over 12 years.
What do you think is the startup culture like in Canada?
20 to 30 years ago, if you're doing a startup, people would be laughing, saying, "Why are you doing a startup? Why don't you go get a job?"
How BEC is playing a role in shaping the entrepreneurship? I know you see a lot of entrepreneurs every single day. How BEC playing in their growth and scalability? How to compare Canadian startups and US startups?
There's certain sectors and industries where Canada may have a little bit more power. So there's challenges because U.S. is obviously known world round in the sense that everybody wants to do business with the U.S.
What are the educational institutions putting in, like Alabama University and other universities are there? So how are they working with startups?
The future is AI. The future is cybersecurity. The future is big data. The future is service.
Hi, Prince. Welcome to Biz Talk with Jyoti. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Jyoti?
I'm good too. So, I know you are based out of Brampton Entrepreneur Centre. All the entrepreneurs across Brampton and GTA, they know you, and they have somewhere or the other worked with you in some capacity. So, I would like you, for the interest of the audience, I would like you to tell us a little bit about what you exactly do, and how are you supporting the entrepreneurs.
For sure, Jyoti. Thank you so much for that question and for inviting me to the show today. So my role really is a conduit between business owners and the city. And what we do is we basically provide opportunities to collaborate from various aspects, from offering a co-working space, seminars, networking events. We offer one-on-one consultations to small business owners. We also offer grant programs, Summer Company, Startup Company being two of the major grant programs that we do offer.
Mhm.
My background really is, I've been in the world of entrepreneurship for over 12 years now. I started working for a manufacturing firm that was relatively small years and years ago. So we're talking about 2011, 2012. Came to the city of Brampton, then left the city of Brampton, joined the Halton region doing a similar role within the world of entrepreneurship, and then I came back now as a supervisor at the city of Brampton. I also teach at the University of Guelph Humber, where I teach a course on entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship has really been ingrained in my blood. I really enjoy what I do, and I absolutely love being a part of the small business and startup community in Brampton and beyond.
Awesome. That's great. So, based on your experience and how you have been working for a long time now, what do you think is the startup culture like in Canada?
Yeah, it's interesting because 20 to 30 years ago, if you're doing a startup, people would be laughing, saying, "Why are you doing a startup? Why don't you go get a job?" And it has really changed over the last 20 or so years, where it's now become acceptable that you have a startup or a side business or some sort of entrepreneurial venture that you're working on. And we call this the side hustle. And it's become more of a trend that we're seeing nowadays. And a lot of business owners are also sometimes full-time employees, and now they're trying to run something on the side. And people have seen that, at some point in your life, you may want to create that legacy, or you may want to fulfill a quest or something in your life where you make a difference and you make a change. And I think entrepreneurship has really become that conduit between, reaching your potential and living your day to day life. And
Mhm.
going through the whole master's program at the University of Waterloo in their economic development, I really now see the foundation of why entrepreneurship has become so important in our community and why we really try to promote it within our ecosystem.
Mhm. Great. So, I know you are associated with BEC right now, which is also called the Brampton Entrepreneur Centre. So, how BEC is playing a role in shaping the entrepreneurship in Brampton and beyond?
Yeah, so I love the fact that you mentioned Beyond, because we are working on an opportunity that is going to go more global. But what we really do is, in essence, is to provide a startup and small business support to entrepreneurs looking to start and expand their businesses. So
Mm-hmm.
as I mentioned earlier in my introduction, we offer grant programs called Starter Company and Summer Company. So starter companies for adults over the age of 18 who have a business idea that they've been running for a year and are looking to get a grant of up to $5,000. So we take them through a whole array of training and mentoring and coaching. And then at the very end, they submit a business plan and pitch to potentially get a grant of $5,000. And then Summer Company, where we're trying to help students learn the world of entrepreneurship. So we're giving a grant of up to $3,000 to the province of Ontario, where students are then given an opportunity to run their own business over the summer, as well as get training and mentorship as well. The other roles we kind of play are we provide connections to different resources within the city, maybe different contacts that we may have to get you further along in your business. And we have advisory services as well, so you can meet with one of our consultants one-on-one to have a conversation in private about your business idea or business in general, and to just get some grasp on how can you maybe make those improvements, or what are those next steps that you would have to take. And aside from that, we also have workshops and seminars where we actually host networking as well as opportunities for you to learn and get educated on things like financials, growing your business online, how to hire your first employee. Next month, we're launching something for SDGs. So SDGs is basically social development goals, or sustainable development goals, my apologies. And the whole premise of that is to help people or small business owners understand the value of sustainability in entrepreneurship. So these are just a few things that we really kind of can dive into. But of course, there are other smaller things where we can assist entrepreneurs if they are interested in getting that support.
Awesome. So, based on, I know you see a lot of entrepreneurs every single day. How many of these entrepreneurs are there with BEC for maybe 2 years or 3 years and have been consistently getting the support and they're growing? And till what scale do you see, okay, this particular startup should have grown, or how big a role is BEC playing in their growth and scalability?
That's a very good question. And, we've never really looked into the metrics behind it. But just going back to what I know and, talking to the advisors, a lot of our clients do generally have that 1 to 3 year timeline where they work with us for the first preliminary phases of their business. Then
Mhm.
eventually they move on to the point where they don't need our services anymore, or they need them, but not to the same level or degree. Like we have a lot of alumni from various programs that we run in the past who have basically gone and scaled their businesses. And recently, for example, I met with a power couple, which is what I call them, and they basically are going to be speaking next month at an event that we have, and they launched their business with us back in 2017, and now they're expanding and growing, but they don't need our day-to-day services anymore. But they do come here to just have some social interaction or a place to work, or maybe even get opportunities now to be speakers or mentors. So we
Mm.
really try to transition our entrepreneurs from not just being business owners, but also, people that can give back and show the value of mentorship, and show the people that are trying to get into the same boat as they are, the opportunity of entrepreneurship and how they can get where they are, the same way that these two entrepreneurs got where they are. So that's just one example, but obviously we have lots of other entrepreneurs that we always try to transition them over into mentors eventually once they've reached a certain stage.
Right. I understand, if we compare ourselves to US startups, how do compare Canadian startups and US startups? Where do you think we lie?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And, there's certain sectors and industries where Canada may have a little bit more power, like manufacturing and engineering, finance, technology, minerals, and things of that nature. Not saying that we're 100% better than the US, but there are certain things that we do stand out and where we can show our prowess. And then the challenge, though, however, is Canada technically is only 12% of the US population if you do the comparison,
Yeah.
right? So we're small in size. Our economy is reflective of that. The startup system, in this case, is built within our borders. So there's challenges because U.S. is obviously known world round in the sense that everybody wants to do business with the U.S. But it's because they're a big economy. They're basically the leader of the world, right? But Canada's kind of hanging on, and with the tariffs that are coming in potentially in the coming days, it may impact us significantly, right? So America still has that huge power over us and all the other nations around the world. So one thing I would say is we have the potential to be a great nation of entrepreneurialism and a country that obviously is a part of the G7. There are lots of opportunities in Canada to really start an organization and excel our population and help really start the growth of entrepreneurship within our community. And if we're able to get us to a stage where we can cut the red tape, which I feel is sometimes one of the biggest challenges to do business in Canada, and really focus on building out a country that's worthy of investment, there's so many opportunities that the country has to offer in terms of the startup ecosystem.
Right. And with so much going on globally, and US leading the way in terms of, I would say, at least in the startup economy.
Yeah.
Do you think it hinders the ambition of Canadian startup founders? Do you think they are less ambitious? If we talk about, scaling a business to become a unicorn, do you think the Canadian startups are less ambitious to go that way?
I don't think so. I think there's opportunities on both ends of the border, and U.S. has potential here. U.S. companies have potential here, and then companies in Canada have potential in the U.S. I think the whole goal should really be to look at exploring the U.S. market as a Canadian company, and the challenge really is that I don't think we have enough resources to really educate people on how to enter a U.S. market. Even though we're neighboring countries, the
Mhm.
challenge is the U.S. market is actually quite significantly different in certain things than the Canadian market. Um, and I think a lot of these startups need to understand that there's a lot more potential entering into the U.S. market as a Canadian startup because number one, at this time the exchange rate is very high, so you're going to be making a lot more money. But then the amount of customers that you can access in the U.S. is tenfold what you can access in Canada. So I think if we're able to establish even an opportunity to help these startups understand the how do I actually scale my business and get it over the border, it could really help escalate our startup ecosystem and really help us grow faster than ever before.
So, going back to my question, so do you think, do you suppose this is not more of an ambition problem, but more of a, I would say, mentorship problem? They are having less funding available, less know-how of how to go about it, and things like that.
That's exactly it, right? Because I don't think we've set up the right systems in place to really educate entrepreneurs on everything and everything of scaling internationally. Like if you go to the trade commissioner's office, great, yeah, you're going to get support. But if you're not in business for at least a year to 2 years, then you may not even have access to speak to someone.
Hmm.
Right? So those are the sort of things I talk about. How do we really get the grassroots companies that are just starting and just starting to scale up those are same opportunities to get across the border? What knowledge do they need, right? How do you work with work permits or other things in between in terms of immigration? How do we hire people there, right? So there's some barriers and challenges that a lot of the Canadian startups are maybe not aware of, and I think if more education was tailored towards that, there could be a lot more opportunities down in the U.S. where they could scale rapidly down there, and of course have their Canadian headquarters here in Canada.
Right. And is BEC helping in these segments wherein they are making people more aware of these things?
That's a really good question. So when you mentioned globally or abroad, it's something we're considering right now. So we may be starting something up soon where we help companies understand the opportunities available, not just in the U.S. but across the world. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to hopefully get some people in place that are going to help us uh, build the knowledge foundation, is what I call it, that can basically run seminars or opportunities in regards to maybe even doing consultations with these startups and giving them the opportunity to learn about the opportunities abroad, maybe have connections abroad. And that's how you really grow a business, right? If you have contacts, the, the references go much further than just having knowledge of the area, right? So the whole goal with the global business side of things is we will try to see if we can offer opportunities for startups in Beck to then have access to resources that can help them scale internationally.
Great. So I know Brampton is all about big ideas and innovation, and a lot of things is happening. So how is this other cities in Toronto GTA helping, and how are we putting Brampton in the grand scheme of things, and where are we heading as a city?
Yeah, I think as a city, we're going very far, a lot faster than most of the other communities. Because number one, I'm not sure if you know, but we are the third largest city now in all of Canada. We've surpassed Mississauga just recently as well. Um, I think from a political standpoint, that's where it always starts when it comes to trying to integrate new opportunities within your community. it all starts with the politics. What do the politicians have to say? What mandates do they have? What are they really trying to focus on? And what I've noticed is politicians that really focus on economic development really show that within their community. So with our current politicians, we see a lot of things happening in the downtown ecosystem,
Mhm.
which basically is the innovation district now, where we have different key partners in the area, from arts organizations to tech hubs to Beck being the solidifier in terms of all things small business, leading to people saying and getting curious on, wow, Brampton is really moving far. And always starts with that branding aspect, right? And a lot of communities have to understand that if you can brand yourself really well, you will get a lot further. Hence, obviously, we're not, as far as Waterloo or Toronto just yet, but if we put in the right pieces in play and do the right decisions from a political lens and an economic development lens, there's definitely opportunities for us to be one of the top leaders in innovation and opportunities for entrepreneurs within our community.
Okay. Is it with this so many changes coming in and Brampton being put out on the map wherein it is seen as a growing innovation hub, is it impacting the startups gets more venture capitals and more funding and investment in their startups?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So we have a dedicated group called the Brampton Angels, and what we're trying to do is, because we are a startup ecosystem, and from our advisors, we deal with hundreds of inquiries per year, and consultation wise, we're dealing with hundreds of consultations per year as well. I think we deal with anywhere between 800 to 900 consultations in a year, which, if you add that between a team of three people, that's how many consultations per day over a 365-day period. Um, so there's a lot of companies from not just Main Street, but also a lot on the tech end, that even I'm actually quite surprised on how much opportunity is here. So from the Brampton Angel perspective, what we're really trying to do on that end is trying to really fund those tech companies that have the ability to scale at a rapid level. And the group there is really there to provide you access to angel investors who have contacts or they have money to fund your business. So yes, Brampton is putting in the work, and there are lots of opportunities here. And obviously, from my experience over the last 6 months, 7 months that I've been back, I think Brampton has really reshaped the way that economic development is done, and they're really trying to focus on the world of entrepreneurship, which is, in my opinion, very, very important, especially if you're trying to build a community that centers around people that care about it, rather than big organizations that you're trying to attract, but they don't have a real say in the community because they don't really know the community that well. So I always like the bottom up approach to innovation, which means bringing in collectively entrepreneurs that actually care about your community versus the top down. But that's just a personal opinion. But yeah, I just wanted to flag that with you as well.
Right. I understand there are a lot of educational institutions who are also pitching in. So, what are the educational institutions putting in? Like Alabama University and other universities are there. So, how are they working with startups, and how is it bringing back the whole system together? I would like to understand it
Yeah,
from.
we have some amazing partners. Three universities off the top of the bat that I can mention are obviously Algoma, as you had mentioned. So Algoma is really expanding their domestic reach.
Mhm,
And they're also offering lots of interesting programs from a technology perspective to
mhm,
our local community. Then we have Sheridan College, which is all skilled trades basically, and everything to do with practical level experience. Sheridan is an awesome partner of ours, and then we also have TMU, which I think is more along the lines of what you're looking at in terms of innovation, because TMU has their cybersecurity catalyst. They have BVZ, Brampton Venture Zone. So from not really from an educational standpoint, but from a startup ecosystem standpoint, yes, TMU does have a foothold in Brampton, and they have a separate organization that deals with international, well, not just international, but local startups in a particular area. Let's say the health space, that they basically help support with funding and opportunities. So yes, there are a couple of local organizations that we deal with, and then from a high school level, there's a lot of SHISM programs and a lot of different local groups that we also collaborate with as well, and trying to really showcase the talent that we have here in Brampton through some of these networking opportunities that we present throughout the year.
great. Are there specific industries that you think Canada should focus on, which will have its way globally?
The future is AI. The future is cybersecurity. The future is big data. The future is service, right? The future is service. And if Canada can get it right and they can put in the right pieces in play with, all these different innovations that we're talking about, I think there's a good chance that we'll probably be at par with some of the larger economies around the world. Even though we're a G7 nation, I feel like we still lag a little bit behind the rest of them because Japan, U.S., France, for example, right? I feel like a lot further ahead than where we are, right? But if
Mhm.
we're able to attract the right type of businesses, if we're able to give them the right sort of opportunities in terms of the contacts, the resources to help them even scale, I think there's a huge potential, right? And Communitech, for example, was a project that was started years ago. And Communitech led to some of the most successful startups in Canadian history, right?
Mhm.
And if we can focus on building not just a Communitech, but an opportunity for all sorts of entrepreneurs from different backgrounds, different business ideas, and helping them scale abroad and helping them get a place abroad, and going back to your question earlier, right? I
Mhm.
think that's what we have to do is help them once they're scaled well domestically, get them to a level where they can now reach international borders, and that's how I think we will be remaining competitive. But again, going back to the industries itself, I think those are the three major ones that if we do focus in on them, we'll probably have a higher chance of success in the coming years in terms of talent retention and opportunities.
Great. So, based on so many years of experience, do you recall any startup that you came across you're really proud of? I know you talked about a power couple, or any any example of a business that you really are proud of and they have made a mark which is remarkable that you would like to speak about. That's very close to your heart.
Hmm. Um, to be honest with you, I've had so many clients and I've dealt with so many businesses that it's hard for me to pick just one. Um, and the reason why I'm not going to answer directly is because I feel like every entrepreneur that I deal with, I'm more of their mentor, and they're more of their strategic partner in the sense that I'm there to really help them scale and grow. Okay, their success is my success, and whenever my clients succeed, that's a success to me. So I'm proud of every client that I have, to be honest with you, because a lot of them that ended up doing really well and they made this their full time business. Good for them, right? But I'm not going to pick and choose just one because there's so many people that I'm so proud of that I feel like everybody deserves to get recognized for all the hard work. Because entrepreneurship is not easy, as you know, Jyoti, right? It takes a lot of work, and you're working pretty much all the time, right? There's no off button. And for you to get into that lifestyle where you can't turn yourself off, sometimes it becomes challenging, especially if you have family and other things in between.
Absolutely.
So you have to be proud of everybody. You can't just pick one. So although I didn't answer it directly, I just want to say, every client that I've worked with, I want to thank you all, and I'm very proud of you all.
Great. Um, what do you think is a mass challenge all these entrepreneurs are facing, and what is your suggestion to overcome that challenge?
Two challenges that I'm seeing, and it's very clear from my years of experience now. Number one is funding,
Hmm.
and number two is mentorship. Okay, so starting from the funding end, a lot of people assume that you know if you start a business, the government is going to give you money.
Hmm.
That is not the case. The government just does not hand out money for free. Okay, and if you don't know, there's actually metrics that the government fulfills when they give out grants. And what do you think the metric is? Well, the metric is that you will be creating jobs, you will be creating employment, et cetera, et cetera. So for
Hmm.
them to give handouts to all hundreds and hundreds of startups to see success of maybe 5% of them, it's not money well spent. Okay, so the challenge I see with a lot of entrepreneurs is they have this notion that the government is going to give them money and they're going to start their business and they're going to be very successful. That is not the case. Okay,
Hmm.
so you have to be financially prepared to pay your rent, you pay your mortgage, pay all your monthly bills, and then also try to run this business on the side. Or if this is your full time thing, then that business has to basically supplement and make sure that you're actually making the money that you need to survive for a month. Okay, so a lot of entrepreneurs that do really well generally don't have the financial burden, like all the mortgages and the rent and everything, which is hard nowadays in the Canadian context. But the second thing is mentorship. Where do you find the mentor, right? It's hard to sometimes find a mentor that's directly related to your business that can give you straight advice on how do you actually succeed and grow in your industry. And I feel like if you don't have the right mentorship, then sometimes you can drive really, really quickly. But I've noticed that entrepreneurs that have good mentorship or good advisors that can say, hey, this is the step that you should be taking, those are the people that end up doing really, really well, because you're not running blindly anymore. You have someone who's had experience and is able to give you their knowledge of how they became successful in your space, in your business, and then you can run with that, right? So it's just like the history of time, right? Like, how did we learn to cook? How did we learn to make a fire? Well, somebody started it, and then somebody made it, and then somebody did it, and then somebody did it. So
Sure.
that's how it is. That's how society is. That's how we work, right? We're trained based on our historical context, and that's the same thing with mentorship, right? As an entrepreneur, if you're not trained to do it, then how do you know you're going to do it well? So sometimes mentorship can play a huge impact in terms of your success or your failure.
Right. Got it. So, yeah, that's the end of my questions. And I'm looking forward to speak to you again on our show. Thank you
Yeah, for
so
sure.
much for joining in and answering all my questions. So that was the end of the conversation with Priz Khan. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and learned something from it. Please like, share, and subscribe Biz Talk with Jyoti to hear more such conversation. Thank you.